Questions 1 to 4.
You will hear a conversation between a girl, Jill, and a boy, Gus, about an adventure park they have both visited.
Hi, Gus.
Jill, hi. Where have you just come back from?
Wycliffe Adventure Park. I was planning to save all my money and go in August, but then my parents said they'd take me for my birthday. It was great.
It is, isn't it? All my friends told me I should go. Then my uncle invited me to go with him and my cousin, Todd. Todd and I went on all the rides together, which was good for my uncle, who really isn't keen on them.
Really?
Yeah, he says they make him feel sick. Actually, Thunder Mountain made me feel a bit ill in the end, but that's because we went on it 4 times.
Ah, you lucky thing. That's the one I really wanted to go on. It's the coolest ride.
Yeah. Did you get on it?
Only once. The queue was so long.
You'll have to go back when it's not so busy.
That's my plan. I was thinking of going on a rainy day during the next school break.
Yeah.
I won't mind getting a bit wet, just as long as there are fewer people there and shorter queues.
That's a good idea. I might come. We spent ages in the Future World part of the park when I went. It was good, but there's so much more of the park that I want to see, like the Sea Life Centre and the Jungle Walk.
And there are a couple of areas that were closed to the public today. They're building new rides and a new food court.
They need one. The food was the one thing I wasn't very impressed with. There was no choice.
Oh, I thought the food was okay. I just wish their maps were a bit clearer and easier to read. I kept getting lost today.
Questions 5 to 8.
You'll hear an interview with a tour leader who works for an adventure company in Africa.
Today I'm talking to Don Nicholson, a tour leader who spends 10 months of the year looking after groups of up to 18 tourists in southern Africa. They travel together in the back of a truck, put up their own tents and cook their own food. Welcome to the programme, Don.
Thanks.
This is a holiday with a difference, isn't it? Tell us, first of all, what sort of people go on a camping trip in Africa, and a long one at that. It is a month each trip.
Yes, well, it sounds a sort of studenty thing to do, but in fact the majority of our passengers are people like doctors and lawyers. We do get some students, but they tend to be the ones that are studying something like conservation or wildlife.
And when do they all first meet?
The evening before we set off. They fly in, and I pick them up from the airport, and immediately before we start sorting out places in the truck, we go through what they've brought with them. Amazingly, every now and then we get somebody who genuinely doesn't realise it's a camping tour, so I have to rush out and get them blankets and a sleeping bag.
It must be difficult. A whole group of strangers coming together and then having to live together like that.
Well, it goes surprisingly well, but I always think the first day is critical because it sets the tone for the whole trip. We've had the odd nightmare start where we've got a flat tyre 20 minutes after we set off, or it's dark and pouring with rain and people just can't get their tents up. Once we were making pasta late at night and the cook put in a tin of strawberry jam instead of tomato paste. Those are the bad starts.
Basically, everyone has to take part in the domestic chores, do they?
Yes, the brochure makes it clear that people have to work on a rota system, and they usually do about an hour's work a day. We get a few who don't want to muck in, but more often they're just untidy, and I've got a bit of an eye for that because, well, they might leave a fork lying on the ground, for example, and, OK, it's just a fork, but in a lot of places in Africa you can't get forks, so I'm quite possessive about the equipment.
Questions 9 through 12.
John has applied to train as a teacher and is being interviewed. In this stage of the interviewer will discuss John's previous studies and work experiences. Hello, come in and take a seat. You are John Evans?
Yes, I am.
Well, as I'm sure you're aware, the purpose of this part of the interview is to go over your CV and talk a little further about your previous studies and experiences.
Yes.
So, your first degree was in French, of course?
Yes, with a minor in film studies.
An interesting combination. Mostly French films, presumably?
Well, European cinema in general, but with a bias towards French cinema.
Ah, and your degree took 4 years?
Yes. In the third year, I was an exchange student at Bruges University in Belgium. I was there for a full academic year, 9 months.
Right. Well, you graduated 2 years ago, and then you took some time out, as it were.
Yes, I spent 6 months as a volunteer working on restoring historic buildings in France.
Oh. Was that with a well-known organisation?
They're called Restoration Vacations here, but they operate under different names in several countries. I think they're quite well known.
So, it was a 6-month vacation, really?
No, I went for a week, but really liked it, and I got asked to stay on as a translator. Because I could speak French quite well, it was my job to liaise between the owners of the buildings and the English-speaking volunteers.
That must have been a very enjoyable experience.
Well, it was certainly a very enjoyable experience to begin with, but after the first 3 months or so, I actually got a bit bored. I was talking about the same things every day. Bricks, cement, window frames, that kind of thing. It wasn't really stretching my French. Also, I wasn't getting paid, just free accommodation and food, plus some pocket money.
I see.
This is the end of part 2.